Yo, it's funny to think about how Frank Ocean has an entire aesthetic that everyone loves. Because, like, I really look at Frank Ocean as more than just, a musical idol. You actually look at this man as a fashion designer, a jewelry designer, all of that. And when you see his aesthetic, it's actually so amazing because so many people do, pertain to that aesthetic. You will see, like, fashion based on, like, a Frank Ocean album, based on the way he acts, based on the way he makes you feel with his music. Because there's so many people who listen to Frank Ocean and make that their entire personalities. I'm not saying that that's particularly horrible. I'm just saying that it's funny to see that how much impact one person can have on so many people's lives. Because yeah, I'm gonna be one of those people in my life where I'm gonna get a tattoo because Frank Ocean, not because Frank Ocean got a tattoo, but like because I got inspiration from Frank Ocean type shit. Because I'm gonna get a tattoo on like my chest type shit, but whatever. And think about this: the aesthetic that Frank Ocean gives off is that of like a somber nature. It's very calming. It's beautiful. It's like almost giving up everything to fall in love, to just be a happy person, and sometimes the happiness turns into sadness, and that's just how life is most of the time. Sometimes, and it's like, okay, now we see this Frank Ocean aesthetic, and it's being heavily popularized, right? Where everyone's like, oh, I'm depressed, oh, I'm white Ferrari this, white Ferrari that. But I feel like it's more than just depression being popularized. It's more of people actually finding their own aesthetic and enjoying it, and enjoying how beautiful it is, to actually just find inspiration from the deepest and the weirdest of things. Like, who's going to tell, like, who 10 years ago, if you ask someone if they were getting clothing inspiration from an album, they it wasn't really like that. It was more like, oh, I saw them 2005 hip-hop music videos, and that's where I got my inspiration from. It wasn't really where it was like, oh, I got it from this particular album, from this particular artist, and that's why I dress a specific way. No, it was more like, okay, I see so many artists doing this, so that's why I dress like that. Like, my favorite artist dress like this, that's why I dress like this. In Frank Ocean's case, it's not that he dresses like this so we dress like this. We dress like this because the music makes us feel a specific way, and the way it makes you feel is more easily represented, and it's an easy outlet to do it through fashion, or do it through jewelry, or do it through your aesthetic, your quote-unquote aesthetic. And you can see this with so many artists, bro. It's like the OPM niggas, the Tyler the Creator fans, specifically Flower Boy era, all these different people, they all have their different styles, and they all have the specific artists where they get these styles from. And it's so cool seeing that, because everyone has their own aesthetic based on like an album or based on an artist that they really enjoy. And it's not like, oh yeah, just hip-hop. It's not just the hip-hop anymore. It's not just streetwear is becoming more than just streetwear. It's becoming feelings being translated into clothing, being translated into the way you act, the way you the way you carry yourself almost. Because I feel like if you listen to like White Ferrari or just Blonde in general, that entire album, I would perceive you a specific way. If that's like your favorite album of all time, I have like a specific notion. Like, I would think that you dress a specific way, and that's not even a bad thing, because I feel like people who listen to that album and really use it to inspire their clothing have some of the most amazing outfits I've ever seen in my life, honestly. Like, I see someone wearing some of the weirdest shit on the planet, and they'll tell me that, oh yeah, it's because of this one album I heard and it changed my entire life. And it's like really interesting to think about, and you really can't even hate at that point, because that's actually so cool to think about, how music really impacts you in so many different ways. And music is really like a drug, if you think about it. It's like one of the most potent, and it's the most addictive drug on the planet, because if you take away music from your life right now, you couldn't live. I'm telling you would have withdrawals, bro. After like a week of not listening to music, you'd be like, oh yeah, something's wrong with my life, which is crazy to think about. Like, nobody really talks about it. I'm not saying it's a bad addiction, depending on what type of shit you listen to, but like, all I'm saying is that it really does show that music has such a huge impact on our lives, and it changes a lot of the, like, how people talk, how people act, how people dress, like, a lot of shit is changed just by the music you listen to and how you perceive that specific music, which is really cool. I really like how people are getting more into their feelings and looking deeper into themselves because of the specific things that they're listening to, and not just following the crowd or being one of the sheep. People are actually finding their own aesthetic.